Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chats. Today, I'm chatting with Erin Stabile, who is an intuitive medium, Akashic, and spiritual mentor. And we will be talking about psychic layers of attachments. What are they and how to remove them? Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chat, where we discuss what is happening with our planet's ascension journey. I am Rachel Chamness. I help lightworkers connect to their spiritual helpers and light path.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited that we're talking live about this because we talk about it behind the scenes all the time. So it's cool that we're putting it out there.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So, intuitive medium, Akashic spiritual mentor. My journey kind of started after gastric sleeve surgery, and I just really needed to heal. I really hated my life a lot. Loved my kids and husband, but there was no happiness, no joy. I had a lot of chronic pain and just a lot of stuff. So I found Reiki, which like exploded my intuition at the same time, and I just from then on started to try to make sense of my life and to heal, and meditation and Akashic records and shamanism and DNA activations and intuitive mediumship and all of the combinations that I've been working with over the years. It just really everything started to make sense, and the more that I healed, the more that my gifts turned on. So it was just a really powerful thing for me. So that's now why I help others, because that stuff doesn't have to be in control of your life. You get to be in control of your life and do cool, crazy, awesome shit with spirit and being open. And I like, kind of like Rachel, the more open I am, the better it is. So I like to help people shed all of the mind fuckery so that you can be super open and have all kinds of beings and things and use the fae and all the cool stuff that Rachel kind of introduced me to years ago, and you just get to be in this awesome place. So that's kind of where I began.
I love it. So, if you guys don't know, Erin and I are friends in real life. Well, in real video life. And we talk about this stuff all the time. So I just love having her on here because we are really chatting like this all the time about stuff that we discover in our sessions and how to use that to help other people and things like that. So it's really fun that we're here talking about something really important that we discovered recently. So, want to start?
Yeah. So something, Rachel and I notice with clients is even with ourselves when we're clearing, healing, Rachel and I do some deep, intense work on people. So sometimes there's some negative energies, entities, attachments that come with it. So recently on myself, I cleared something that I feel like I've been clearing for a while. And I asked Spirit, and like Spirit, like really ripped it off my soul this time. And I was like, I feel like I've been clearing this for a while. They're like, you weren't fully ready or prepared to fully release this entity that has been with me many, many lifetimes. And I'm like, well, shouldn't Rachel have seen it? Shouldn't somebody else? And I don't let a lot of people in my energetic space. So, I was like, why? How could Rachel and I both miss it? How could, and Spirit's like, because you weren't prepared to fully release or let go. So it made me question a lot. And I kind of talked to Rachel, like, are we doing something wrong? Why aren't we catching these things? Like, are we doing a disservice? All of that mental spiral stuff that happens. And what really Spirit presented was, the person, whoever you are working on, yourself or somebody else, has to be fully prepared and mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically ready to let go of the attachments that are with them. So if they've kind of built their persona around this entity, this being, this thing that's holding them back, sometimes people aren't prepared to let it go, because who are they without them? Who are they without this thing that's been with them for a very long time? Or, it's almost, I don't want to say it's like a Munchausen thing, but it's almost like you don't know who you are without this part of you, even though they're not doing you anything for your highest and best good. Sometimes people need the comfort of where that thing is because they don't know what their life will be like without it. So that's something that Rachel and I talk a lot about when we have these deep, intense things with clients. And how do we make it easier? How do we find it faster? And a lot of what Rachel and I both do is we give our people homework. We do a lot of work and clearing, and we give our clients homework. And we know when you don't do your homework, it's a process. And it's, how do you talk to somebody and tell them, we know you're not doing the work? Are you fully prepared? Are you ready to do the things? So that's some of the stuff that I've witnessed and kind of seen. Honestly, I kind of shift what I ask Spirit for as well. I really want clients that are ready to be helped and ready to heal. Not that I don't want to help everyone, but if somebody's not in a space where they're ready to heal or let go, it doesn't do them a lot of good to keep coming to me, because I don't like to keep charging people for things that we keep working on and working on and working on, because I can only clear so many times before you have to. And same with Rachel, before you have to, kind of pony up and take responsibility for yourself and your healing. And so that's a lot of things that I've witnessed and things that Rachel and I have talked about. But how are your perspective on that, Rachel?
First, I want to say a few things about having an attachment or having some low vibrational entity in your space. You know, there are some times when it's not exactly all the way in and controlling you. So like, especially what Erin's talking about, it's in a layer that's being come up to be removed. And it's not actually making you unclear like it would normally. We remove entities from people because they're not clear. And of course, it happens to everyone. Sometimes I remove entities that are not quite in the auric field, but waiting outside. And how do we get these entities? They get in when we lower our vibration by worry, anger, things like that. And so it's just waiting to get in there. So sometimes I clear it like that. And sometimes, like you're saying, we found that we were finding an entity later in the session when we had cleared all entities at the beginning of the session. Why is there now another entity? You know, and this is where we were starting with this whole thing, and what happened to you and what happens to us all. I would say a really important thing about what you just said is that we really need to say to ourselves, like all healers, you know, I want people who come to me to be clients that I can help. You know, just because Erin and I remove these nasty entities doesn't mean that's our life work. You know, we work with people who are wanting to up level themselves, who want to be a light worker, who can really do it full time and work as a light worker, as their light path, whatever their path, their soul's path is. And we're not, you know, teaching them how to sell their stuff. We're teaching them how, well, you do, I guess, a little bit, but mainly we work with people on how to enhance their gifts, how to make them better. So that's a really important thing, is to make sure you aren't just taking any client. You aren't taking the clients who you can help, and you're asking spirit for that. Yeah, because it's so important.
Because it, you know, after a while, when they kind of keep coming back, you want to help them and you want to do as much as you can for them. But in the same respect, you know, they keep coming back for the same thing. It's a hard conversation to have with them, you know, of
Yes.
I can't help you anymore. You know, I'm going to have to refer you to somebody else. And it's a hard thing to have to pull out of the barrel, because, you know, you want to help everybody, but
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We want to help, but
it is. Yeah.
it's
And, you
not
know,
just on us. Like the client also has to help themselves.
yeah.
Like you're
And,
saying,
you know, part of being ready to heal, like you have to really be ready mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Or if you have substance abuse, or somebody in your home with substance abuse, or that's usually, they really like the lower energies. Negative entities and beings really thrive on that, because it's a lot easier for them to manipulate somebody in that space. So if you live in a home with somebody with that, you know, it's easier for them to be in your space as well. So, you know, it's not that people necessarily call them in or whatever, but, you know, what do we do about it? You can't just say you're ready. You have to like fully energetically be ready, mind, body, and soul, because spirit knows if you're full of shit. If you're lip servicing it, they know it. Spirit will tell that to me sometimes. That's how we mentor people. We get them out of that space. But, you know, it's also, you have to be ready and put your energy into it.
Yeah, and what you said before about like, who am I without this entity? It's not something that people are asking themselves, but it's there. You know, sometimes when you have an entity, it's driving your life. It's making you think something. I've had several clients who've had entities that they keep calling back unconsciously because it's making them feel powerful. It makes them feel very powerful. Oh, I can do this thing and I'm so powerful. It engages the ego. And without that, they feel like they're not enough. So it really comes from this sort of, I'm not enough. I have to be powerful. I have to be someone really important. And so then the entity can work on that. Oh, I'll make you important. I'll make you see things you've never seen before. And then once the entity is cleared, oh, I can't see like I used to see. I need to get that back. It's like, that's how they can kind of get to you. Or they send you feelings that feel good. And sometimes people don't want to release that because it feels good. But, you know, it's really playing with fire. You have to be ready to release it. This entity is there for a reason, which you can always ask when you remove an entity from someone, you know, which of course I recommend for a master teacher, master level Reiki, and to learn how to do it and do it in a safe way. But when you're releasing these from people as a psychic healer, you can ask them, why are you here? And you'd be surprised. They will answer you most of the time if your psychic clairs are open. And they will, if you transform them with compassion and love, they will go very easily. I used to rip them out of people and be like, you know, cuss them out and be like, you can't come back here, like, die, like I'm sticking you to the portal. And now I'm just like, thank you for your service. You know, you can't stay. It's time to be transmuted. Would you like to tell us why you came? Is there something we need to know? And they will say things. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, they're Generally, they kind of know when you're kind of coming for them. So
Yeah,
I
they kind of
usually
know it's done. Like it's over.
kind of bind them so they can't just take off. And you just kind of ask in that space. And you're like, okay, where'd you come from? Why are you here?
Yeah. I mean,
What is
they're,
your goal? What is your mission? And I like to get to the roots of everything. So why are you here? How can we make sure nothing like you comes back, or things like that. So it's always getting to the roots of where did it come from. I had one from lifetimes. It wasn't this lifetime, it was many. So your past lives, your Akashic records hold just as much energy and
yeah.
things as today. So just always have that kind of awareness of where these energies are coming from. I mean, can somebody stick one on you? Yes. Is it all bad and yucky? No.
It's
Sometimes
really not.
people just don't know what they're doing, and on I see it a lot. Intentionally, unintentionally will put things on
Mhm.
people, like maybe they just have ill will towards them, or whatnot, and then they kind of unintentionally send something in their way, and
I see a lot of it unintentional.
yeah.
Sometimes they just want a piece of you, like they're just desperate for your attention. Sometimes they're just mad and they don't realize how powerful they are or what they're harboring in their energy field. Sometimes it's just I think we all do it. We honestly, you can spell or hex someone really easily by what you say. Our words are so powerful. And I say every day, I intend to create no harm for anyone or anything, including myself, to erase that. And when I'm clearing myself for the day, I negate anything I've accidentally said that could harm another person. It's really important things to do because it does come from mistakes a lot.
Yeah, and that it comes up a lot. I'm like, oh, so was this intentional or unintentional? Most of the time, Spirit's like, it was both. Maybe they were jealous, maybe they were whatever, and they weren't meaning to karmically send
I
something
hope
somebody's
not.
way. But then I mean, there are some people who do purposely do it. So
Yeah, some
you
people
know,
do.
it's unfortunate, but I mean, it does happen. But that's energy awareness is like the number one thing in your spiritual journey. So
Yeah.
if you feel off and something's off, then you need to check yourself, have somebody else like Rachel, I check you, whatever. Rachel and I check in with each other a lot because, we do a lot of deep, heavy work on people. So, it's like, oh, something feels off, but we know immediately when our energy feels off because we are very skilled at practicing energy protection, energy clearing. So like I know if somebody books a session, I know if when things are happening with my students, like, okay, I got to check or I got to do this, because you just having that energy awareness is really important. And it took me a really long time at first to understand what the heavy negative things were, because it started to feel like super brain fog. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't clear or protect. And then that was when all of the warning signs for me started to go off, like, oh my god, I think I have something
It's
attached to me.
weird,
And
right?
then
And also,
like,
you can't think of the thing that you
yeah,
usually use to clear. It's
can't
like
stop.
Archangel, what's his name? Like I
Yeah.
can't think of Archangel Michael's name. Like, there's
Yep.
something preventing me, and that's not always an entity. That can be like something trying to get into your energy, and you have to think really hard. It's Archangel Michael. Then you're like, okay, got to build more shields here for a minute or
Yeah.
clear whatever that is trying to get in.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to realize that that's what that was, because it was like I would start to clear and I would forget what I was doing. Like I
Yeah,
cleared the kids every day on the way to school and I couldn't, you know what I mean? You can't finish what you're doing. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, God, my grandma was 100 and she died of Alzheimer's. Like, I'm only 44. When I started to realize that's when I know more, maybe not necessarily bad entities, but maybe heavier energy from somebody, something, is going on.
yeah,
So it's a
maybe just a
good
cord clearing.
exercise to like, oh, okay, that's kind of odd. So it's a kind of a good starting place for if you're starting to feel off energetically, like when you start to check for, okay, what's happening?
Yeah.
Who am I working with? What's going on? So a lot of times if I'm doing clearings, I send my kind of bouncer guys out to like bind the things to make sure they don't try to, take off before I get rid of them. So
Yeah, as healers ourselves, it is our own personal responsibility to make sure that we are clear before we clear other people. And all of the healers out there need to also be doing that. We don't just, work on people all month and never go to someone ourselves. The more people you're working on, the more you're holding space for people. And depending on who you're holding space for, if they have a lot of entities, if they have a lot of problems, then you are holding a lot of space. And so you really need to make sure that you're also cleared. So it's really important that light workers work on each other. We need each other. We need to keep our personal energy clear. And we need sometimes that outside look. It's kind of like going to a therapist. Your therapist tells you, well, don't you see this connection? Don't you see what you're doing? And you're like, you're right. You know what you've said 3 times already in the last 10 minutes? You've said this. Oh, sometimes you need that extra ear.
So with energy kind of removals, attachments and things like that. So I think, something that Rachel and I have commonly witnessed is they just personally weren't 100% ready to release whatever attachments. But I also have one incident where the person was also seeing somebody else at the same time. And while I was removing things, the other person was adding things on to continue for them to have pay for sessions, which is, I mean,
Horrible.
yeah, like I want to punch people like that in the throat because
Gross.
you're just harming the person that you're supposed to be energetically healing. And B, it makes it difficult when I didn't know the full story of there's no possible way you could have had everything come back. A, because how I clear is powerful and nothing comes back. And B, it's been less than 24 hours. So what the hell is going on? And, she was going to somebody else who was literally putting things on her so that she could keep coming back for emergency sessions. So then she would have to come back to me because they weren't doing it good enough. You know what I mean? So it's that space too of, kind of dishonest healers and light workers. And,
Well, I
it's,
mean, are they liars if they're doing that? I mean,
I
they're
don't
honestly
think so.
working
I
with
mean,
dark.
these are more like black magic or,
Gross.
like, definitely not healers because healers are working in light and love. They're not trying to put things on people or continue to add things to people to keep charging.
Right.
I mean, that's just it's a douche move.
Totally. My whole thing is let's empower you to be able to do this. I don't want to clear the same entity 400 times. I don't want to have the same session with you over and over where I'm like, hey, I keep clearing this entity and why are you calling it back? Why is it serving you? What are you doing? What do you want with it? Why won't you let it go? That's where I like to work deeper. Why isn't this person letting it go? But even then, if the person won't release it, there's nothing I can do. I cannot force someone to be on a higher vibrational level. As much as I can clear them and help release some of the reasons they're doing it, they still have to do their own work.
Yep. And that's just where their personal responsibility comes in,
Yeah.
and that's where you as a healer, light worker, whatever you call yourself, have to make boundaries and decisions. I had to kind of tell some people like, hey, look, I can't do anything for you anymore. The reality is it's just they're just not in an energetic space to whatever, to release, to come to realization, to do the healing, whatever it is, and it's a hard boundary to create for yourself as a healer of
It is.
how many times do you try to help them? And
Because it's sad. It's sad to witness. I mean, you and I had a shared client where we tried and tried, and we just felt like at some point we were just, you're spending too much money on this. It's obviously you need to do something else because you're not listening. You're not doing the things that Spirit's telling you to do. And we can't just keep clearing the same thing over and over and over again. I know some people might see that as an opportunity. Oh, I'm making lots of money off this client, but that's not cool. Like a person should be able to stand in their own power. You shouldn't need a healer to keep you clear all the time. Like that's a little bit different than getting a tune-up or a regular session, but to need someone else to keep you clear because you can't keep yourself clear for 3 or 4 days. Like you're not in your power at all. That's
Yeah.
disempowerment.
I know, and it's a hard thing too, because you're like, well, it doesn't really bring repeat customers when you kind of clear people and heal them, and then they don't have to come back for like 6 months. But it's like also in the same respect, it's like I don't want to create repeat customers to
For
help them
clearing,
clear,
no.
and then they can come back to me for another reason at some point, like to learn, to
Yeah.
develop, to do the things. I don't want repeat customers because they're not healing. I want repeat customers because they're ready for more. They're ready to learn. They're ready to expand now because they've been able to release or let go of the things. It's a different space, too.
Yeah. We can sometimes help people to get to a place where maybe they have taken everything we learn and they go off and do great things and we get new people in, and that's great too. It's like we don't want someone who can't really learn what we're trying to teach.
Yeah, and I have students right now that I'm like teaching them how to clear, how to do the things so that, if it comes up for them, if it comes up for their clients in the future, because I had a hard time. I was like, do I teach them my super intense, really deep clearing methods? And I'm like, but I'm doing a disservice by not teaching it to them. You know what I mean? So,
Same. Yeah.
it's also a hard thing as a business owner and as a spiritual person because it's like you're doing a disservice by not allowing them to fully, be in control of clearing and doing things for themselves. And, so part of that is the Akashic records and clearing history. But I was like, it's doing them a disservice by not teaching them
That's what
to
I think
clear
too.
powerfully. You know what I mean? So that means that they're safer. And then if they work on clients, their clients are safer. Because I remember doing it, I was like, I should charge people like $1,000 to learn this clearing method. And I was like, but my students deserve to know that, because they
Right.
deserve to have all the tools that they need, for whatever comes up. Because I pretty much taught myself most of my methods,
Same.
by trial and error, by doing, and they're super powerful. So, you teach your students and then they can expand or do it differently or whatever it is. But if you give them the tools in the beginning, then they can, shift and do what they need to do with it. But, I think to get to where you and I are with some of these really deep, intense things, it does take some time, and it does take practice, and it
Yes.
does take, some learning. I wouldn't jump in as a newbie to do some of the things that you and I do. Because like kind of what I told my students was like, I don't want you to half-ass do something, not because they would half-ass it on purpose, but like that maybe they just didn't know everything, and then do the person or themselves more harm. So that was kind of where I really struggled with how much you teach them. So I just taught them everything. So it's kind of it's a big thing. How do you feel about that, like with when you're teaching?
I've gone through the same thing, yeah. Because I was like, do I teach them everything I do? Then they won't need me. And I think that everybody comes to this point. If I teach them everything I'm doing, well, they won't need me. But I don't think that's true. I think the universe rewards you for that. Think about it. Think about if 100 people were doing what you're doing. If you're doing something really cool and helpful, what if 100 people were doing that? What kind of effect would that have on the world? And that's what we have to think of. And as we teach other people our techniques, we come into new techniques. We come into new learning, like us learning about the layers, learning more. And then there's more to teach. There's always more to teach, more to learn. It can be really amazing. I think also sharing it, you learn more, because as you teach other people to do it, they come back with questions that you've not encountered before. And you learn more just by teaching it. Teaching is awesome.
Yep. Spirit showed me that the other day. So they literally made me draw like a stick person, me, and then a stick person, me teaching one person, and then the stick person, that person teaching two people. Like they made me draw it out on a whole giant ass piece of paper. Like I'm helping one light worker, but that light worker's helping another. And then the end, I've technically helped thousands of light workers, because you're helping the one or the two or the three in your class, in your program, in your session, whatever it is. Like, in the end, you get to help thousands of light workers be better healers and light workers, because you are teaching them and helping them embrace their superpowers, what I like to say, find their superpower, embrace their superpower. And you and I don't use our gifts the same, but we use the same gifts.
Let's talk about layers. That's why we're here. And I think it's really cool. Let's talk a little bit more about layer removal. What we saw was that when you clear something, you sometimes clear a full layer of healing. And when the next layer comes up, that's where somewhere in this session, though you may have already cleared entities or psychic implants or something like that, here comes a layer which has more. And where did that come from? And that's really a big thing we were talking about earlier. So
Yeah. So, like, one thing I really noticed is, especially with myself, I have one galactic being that comes in when there's really dark, negative things. So, for a long time, I thought he was bringing them to me because it was like so dark, so heavy, so yucky. And the reality is, he is my warning system. So, he's always there in the corner. He wears a suit. It's super weird. He's a reptilian. His hands are always folded, his head is down, and he will step forward, like to be fully visible, instead of like in the shadows, which is where he usually is. But when he steps fully forward, I'm like, okay, fuck. So either me or somebody, I need to check in with myself, or, and so one thing I noticed with me was like this thing was on my back, like just this big, yucky, disgusting thing with spiky hooks all over my back. And I've probably cleared it like 3 or 4 times. And it's like super heavy, super yucky. Takes me back to old Erin, negative, anxious, like the old Erin just comes fleeting back. So that's my warning system now. But it happened like 3 times. And then this finally, like a month or so ago, my grandma kind of came in and she swiped my leg and she just said, prepare. I was like, holy fuck, now what? What? And like this thing fully kind of finally presented itself. And I was like, what the fuck? How many times do I have to clear this thing? So that's where it was really like, we really started talking about this. I was like, how many times? I don't understand. Because when I clear, I bind. When I bind, they're gone. They don't come back. So where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, how are we going to get rid of it? So I really have spirit kind of walk me through the process, and they literally ripped it off. They never, ever, ever do that. It's usually like some type of a slow healing, clearing, removal type process. And they literally ripped them off. And it was like this like huge God light in front of my face. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like that. And, but really, so I was like, what is this? Why is this happening? Like, how many times do I have to, I don't understand, and that was really where I started to I started asking you, Rachel. I was like, okay, so spirit was really like, you were finally ready, because I've had a lot of changes the last few months, a lot of big life changes. And spirit was like, you're finally ready to release it. You're finally fully ready to release, because it wasn't just of this lifetime. This thing has been with me forever, many lifetimes. And, so spirit was like, you are finally ready. And I'm like, well, what did I do differently? Why? Why did it present? Why did it? And they were just like, you've just been some healing, doing, your gifts are expanding, you're just finally ready. You recognized it, and it was time to go. So to move forward in this new kind of space that I'm moving forward in, I needed to fully allow myself to release it. So I was like, so what was it before? They're like, it was versions of it. So smaller versions that were still disgusting and yucky and heavy, but
Right. That makes sense.
it was like 3 or 4 for sure that I had removed in the past, probably like year and a half. And, so that was what spirit really said. I was like, so what happens with people? How are we going to know? How do we, make sure? And so now I think you and I talked, and it's like, we just kind of ask now, like, okay, so is there more versions of this? Is there more that they need to
Exactly.
do before we can fully remove? Like, so we can give kind of a PSA, like, hey, this, and I'm not hey, I'm doing this little part and then you got to come back to me for another session. That's just not who I am. But sometimes spirit will bring stuff up like, hey, you might need, after a little integration time, little healing time, we might need to fully remove, and like I said, I'm not a big, hey, you need to come back for another session, but I like to just be honest with people and just say, hey, this was super heavy, super, there's some integration, there's some healing you need to do. And then, in a month or so, we can remove the rest, or, when it presents itself. So it's not like I'm asking for repeat clients, but I also want to be honest with people,
Yeah.
okay, this is what is kind of presented. So I know you and I talk a lot about this back and forth. Like, how do we make sure we're serving our clients the best? How do we make sure we're getting to the roots of their things, So I know that's something that I've been trying to do, is really, okay, is there more? What do we need to be prepared for? And how do we remove it in the future? Or can we just set it so that it's removed when it comes in? Like just kind of depends on the person, but a lot more foresight, I think, for me in that process. And I know we've talked a lot about it. So I don't know how you've shifted, how you're doing it, but that's kind of how I've kind of shifted a little bit.
Yeah, I've sort of started asking again before it's over, are there any other layers? And I started removing layers at once. Can I remove all the layers of this? How many layers of this can I remove? Like they might say, you can remove 17 layers of this. And it is different to bring that into your session. One thing that you were talking about that made me think is that also what we were saying before, like we can't always clear it all for you. We're working with your higher self. So you're involved, the client being you. And also, you have to then do your own work. So sometimes we have to clear as much as possible, give the work. And once that work is done, there may be more that can be cleared, another layer. And going back to what you said in the beginning, like where it's hard sometimes to remove a layer, where it's hard to sometimes release an entity is this question, like what allows this in your energy field? What emotion is this stuck to? What are you not releasing? What story, what feeling are you attached to? And this is another thing, going back to why someone might not release the entity, because they feel too attached to that story about themselves that they've built up. They are too attached to something that they believe about themselves, some part of their personality, when that part is really not really true. And we have to sometimes question, I think, our story. Am I really here to fight all the time? Or can I achieve the same end goal with peace? And with working with these energies, we can clear entities with peace. We don't have to spiritually fight them. We don't have to be a warrior. We can just, hey, it's time. You got to go. You have no choice. It's kind of like not yelling at your kids.
That's a challenge. And I think when you think about it, it's sometimes those stories are from birth. So they might be past life stories as well, like patterns, routines, maybe you've been told so and so, so and so. Like, you don't know any life any different than how you've survived your current life. So,
Yeah,
it
trauma. Yeah.
is. I lived the survival life for 39 years. I get it. But, when I was finally sick of my own shit, is what I like to say. I was so sick of my own shit that I was like, I have got to fucking do something different. And that was when I was finally able to start really healing. Trauma, therapy, medication, those things did not work for my anxiety, my panic, my depression.
Right.
I just recently learned I have ADHD, but none of the traditional things worked for me. So I went 39 years miserable, anxious, panic attack filled, anxiety filled. Like, I didn't know a life any different because nothing I had ever done had ever worked. So most people give up. So
Right.
I just like to say, don't give up. You need to find what works, because something will work for you if you're open to truly finding what works for you. But you have to put time, money, and energy behind it. You do have to invest. You do have to invest your time and your energy and your money to find sometimes a mentor, a class, a program, something that is going to help you. And both of you and I over the years have invested a tons. I have college
Tons.
degrees, I have spiritual degrees, I have whatever.
I've been to many mentors myself. It's, like some of this comes from spirit. A lot of it comes from mentors too. I've worked with mentors for years and years and years.
Yep. And, but I think a lot of people have to finally release that story of nothing's ever going to work. Just
Yeah.
ask spirit, okay, well, bring me what is going to work. Bring me what is going to work. But you have to be open to trying. Maybe it's meditation and breath work, which breath work is super fucking weird, but I'm going to get certified in
Hard.
it because I really like it. Meditation worked for me. So don't tell me because I have anxiety or ADHD, I can't meditate. It's bullshit, because I've done it,
Same.
and it takes time. It took me fucking a long time to
Me
meditate.
too.
Every single day, I practiced with guided meditation until I could do it on my own. And now I have absolutely no problem. But
Same.
if you keep telling yourself you can't, you won't, you can't, you won't, you can't, and you won't. But when you finally start saying, God, Spirit, Universe, what do I fucking need? Drop that shit in my lap, make it fucking easy. I always say, make it easy, make it affordable, and make it the right person for me. And then now they just drop that shit in my lap. So, you have to have a mindset shift about it. And you
You
have to
do.
have some faith that somewhere on the line, something is going to work for you.
It is. And also, there has to be a level of trusting in the universe and not getting so frustrated, like, I should be able to do this. I've got to be doing this right this second. You got to give yourself some time. And I mean, that's normal. That's normal to feel that way. So I'm not, knocking when that happens, but it's something that has to be cleared. We have to give it time. We have to give it space. It's the same thing with trying to meditate when you have ADHD. I do too. It took me a long time, but I had to give it enough space, and I had to be calm and not jump to, well, I just can't do this. Well, this is just impossible. Or, I just have to trust that it's working and that it's getting there, and like sit with it with everything that you're trying to bring.
Yep. And I mean, you didn't get to be an anxious, ridiculed mess and overnight. Like, it took me 39 years to build up that level of
Yeah, exactly. One session's not
intolerance.
going to
You know what I
clear
mean?
all the trauma and all the things that happened to you. It's going to clear one thing or get you halfway there, but one session's not going to clean up all the things that you've been piling up till now.
Yeah. And everything you do every day just makes a big difference. How
Yeah,
do you talk to yourself? What are you putting out in the world? What are you asking for?
what are
What
you
are you
saying?
And you and I talk about that a lot. We're shifting. We're trying to say the good things. I mean, yes, bad things happen, and we still need to talk about it to get it out. But now we're trying to, like, okay, what are the good? So I'm not big on the, if you only focus on the negative, negative happens. It's not 100%, but your energy behind what you do does make a big difference. So if you're stuck in the negative, it's going to be hard for you to manifest. It's going to be hard for you to connect to spirit. It's going to be harder for you to release energies or attachments or old
Yeah.
stories or childhood things, whatever, inner child and past life things, because you got to be in a good mindset space. And 20% of the time you can be honking at people and flipping them off and having a bad time. Just don't let the 20% seek into 30 to 40 to 50. Like, just
It
stay
can
in a
always
good
work for it
space
to go maybe 19, 18.
80% of the time. And that 20% is your, like, wiggle room. Like, fuck it all, I'm gonna lock myself in the closet for a couple hours. It's all right.
Yeah, it's not about light and love all the time. It's about like trying to get to the root of what's bothering you so that you can do a little work and release it for now, go back to feeling good, and then, schedule yourself time to go back to that and look at it again tomorrow, maybe. 5-10 minutes a day, you could do shadow work and spend the rest of the day feeling much better than spending the whole day trying not to think about that thing that's really, really bothering you.
Yeah. And you just put it out there too. Okay, spirit, what can I do about this? Usually for me, if something happens, it's that first day, it's kind of shitty and fuck it all. And then the next day is my rational day. Like, okay, what can I do about it? What are my options? So now instead of having a bad day, week, month, year, I have like maybe a bad day. And then the next day is like, okay, now what do I do? What can I do about it? So I don't live in the old Erin life anymore. I get to live in the new Erin where I'm still human and you still have human things, but I don't have to be stuck in the old space.
Right. I mean, when these problems come up, we want to say, not, oh, why is this always happening to me? We want to say, oh, this is huge. Why is this happening? There must be something I'm supposed to learn. There must be something I have to do, something I can do to get through this, because this is something I'm supposed to experience. Is it because of things I've said? Have I brought this on with my words, with my actions, with my feelings? Or is it something that's happening to teach me something? What is that? So I can figure it out, so I can get through it. It's like we have to get through that part. And that's all the difference, between being a victim and being a spiritual warrior who's going to like figure it out and let's get through it.
Now, that's just what I always say. I'm like, okay, well, this fucking sucks. But I know whatever comes at the end of it, because I'm going to just allow. Yes, you have to be an adult sometimes. Sometimes you have to do some things, but usually give it all to spirit. I'm like, okay, well, this is fucking horrible. This lesson blows, but you better bring me something awesome at the end. So I just know at the end, like the payoff is usually sweet. There's just things that happen, and you get to witness things differently and do things differently. And my daughter just graduated high school, so it's like, okay, there's a whole new part of life, but you can't control it and you can't do anything about it. But what can what do you learn from it? What can you process from it? And really, since we're both spiritual mentors, like you kind of learn, how do you help other people through it? So
right. And sometimes when you have this huge thing happen, it's time for extra support. It's time to maybe see a healer or a helper a few extra times. I mean, that's what I would do. Okay, I'm going through this big thing. It's hard. Like, who do I turn to help me get through this? That's mentorship too. It doesn't have to be for only opening intuition or getting into higher realms of psychic healing. It can also be a small time where you just need extra support. And we've all done that.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, most of us on our journey haven't probably trusted much or done that, so
Right.
it's all a lesson in, finding who and what works for you, and, trusting your spirit team.
Well, what would you say to people who are thinking, well, I need a mentor. How do I find the right mentor?
Really, I think you should follow them. You should watch their lives, see how they interact with people.
Trust your feelings about it.
Yeah. And I mean, you can read reviews, but so like for my program, you have to have a call with me. I know you and I both have free calls. You can schedule with us if you want to do one of our programs, one of our things. And I actually recommend that, because you get the chance to see how they're going to fit with you, whatever you're doing, and if they're ready and those things. And B, it gives the person the chance to really get in your energy, and if you're newer on your intuitive journey and you're like, I don't know if I can trust my intuition with them or whatnot, sit with it for a little bit, follow them, ask questions, see how people interact with them, and what comments do people leave if they're doing live things, if they're whatever, and most intuitives, even if you don't think your gifts are really developed, you've been using your intuition your whole life. So how does that gut feeling really feel? If it feels like, holy fuck, that's the person for me, but then that second thought is your ego that comes in, that kind of bitch slaps all the good stuff out. So if every time you see that person go live or you watch a video of them and you get that like, fuck yeah, I like that person feeling, you need to lean into it and just ask them questions, go into their DMs. If they're really awesome on lives but they won't answer your DMs, for me, that's usually kind of like a hard pass. Like if they won't give you a little bit of their time, then that's, to me, it's kind of an indicator of no. But just get into their energy, how it feels good to you, and just wherever level you're at, just kind of ask spirit, like, guide me to the right person, guide me to the right people, the right modality. So if they keep bringing you back to mine or Rachel's page, then that's, look into it and just ask questions.
And you could do something like a private session or a small group session if they don't have private sessions, something to just see if some of their techniques work for you, something smaller, like start there, or ask, where should I start? I'm not sure I'm ready for this big program, but I want to know, how your technique works for me. What would you suggest? you can always ask that.
And I know a lot of us have like shorter half-hour sessions, so I don't always put that on my website, but you can always just ask, "Hey, do you have a shorter session?" And I
Yeah.
can link, yeah, you have a really short, I think my lowest one is like 30. How can I get into your energy a little bit more? Or, I just want to experience you, how you work, or whatever it is. Like, if you feel uncomfortable asking, you have to dig into why. Why don't you feel comfortable asking? If you're going to invest in somebody, you need to feel comfortable asking questions, asking for what you
Yeah.
need in class and a program. Hey, I don't understand this. Hey, like, you have to really put yourself out there, because yes, we're intuitives. Yes, I check in on my students. I know you check in on your students, but if you're just kind of staying back in your own, I'm not going to get into your energy on purpose, but spirit will be like, hey, you need to check on so and so. But you have to ask for what you want and what you need, so that you make sure that they can help you if you need to learn a certain way. Or, I have some learning disabilities, so I have to learn a certain way, and I always
Yeah.
ask when I have do programs or whatever, like,
And we often have alternatives for that. For people who say to me, well, I can't watch videos, it's got to be live. I mean, I have, things for that. So we can always see if we have some workaround for you. Sure.
mhm.
I mean, and how does a person know when it's time to invest in themselves? I would say my answer to that would be like you're just feeling a hunger to learn more. You have a goal inside, or you just know that you're here to do something more, or something more than you're already doing. So you don't have to be a beginner. You could be an advanced person who's saying, just feels like there's something else. And I just can't get my finger on it. I think I might need a little help to get this together. I mean, investing in yourself is so important.
Yeah. And one way I like to think about it too is, you can spend 5 years trying to develop your gifts, or you can invest in, people like Rachel and I who have private mentorship, or, Rachel has TAG, memberships and mentorships in different versions. It just gets you there a lot faster. You can absolutely do all of this stuff on your own. It'll take
Yeah.
time. All of my students right now have been on their journey for 7 years, so, and they all kind of invested in this program that I offer. And, it was just time. They just wanted to accelerate and move forward. So, a mentor will get you somewhere faster. Let's just say it like that. Like,
Right.
they will get
That's
you
what I
to,
always say about tag. It's
yeah,
like,
'cause we've been through it and done it. So we've created
yeah,
methods that get you there faster. So you don't have to spend years and years and years. Yes, you will develop your gifts over years. My gifts are not the same as they were 6 months ago. But, when you invest with somebody who's already done it, that just saves you time from having to figure it all out on your own, So,
and it gives you that extra perspective.
yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful. Well, tell everybody about your intuitive program.
Yeah, accelerated intuitive. So it really kind of started out as an Akashic program, but it really ended up being a combination of DNA activations and Akashic records. So you learn to work in your Akashic records at the same time as you use these DNA activations. So it really hits everything in your mind, your body, your soul that you need to release and let go of, that you don't know what you need to release and let go of. So like I said, the students right now, they're all in 7 years. They've all been working for 7 years, and they all have had massive up levels of their intuitive and healing gifts. And I think we're on week 8. So they've had massive personal shifts, massive spiritual shifts, and they are also learning to work in their Akashic records for themselves and heal and clear stuff from their past lives. And they will also learn it for their clients in the future. So, it's kind of an all-inclusive program, and it's really, tonight we have a call like every other week. So we just do something a little bit different. And I've taught them my kind of personal clearing methods so they can clear and bind humans if it's a human that's still alive, or souls. So I teach them how to get rid of them, anything that's holding them back, yucky stuff, whatever it is, past life, this life. So, it's just really an inclusive program for those that are ready to up level, like I said, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, because it is a financial investment as well. But you have to be ready to like let go of all the stuff, and then if you're ready, it'll push you there. So it's a pretty awesome thing to witness.
Oh, it's great. I definitely recommend Erin for anything because she's great.
You as well. An amazing new program coming, and I can't wait.
Well, thanks for coming, Erin. And you can find Erin at vintagemoons.com if you want to schedule a free call with her or just get into her energy. She's also in TAG, in the TAG team, my monthly mentorship.
Tomorrow. I go tomorrow. I'm
live tomorrow. In my monthly mentorship, library, community, psychic, mystic school, everything.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
Thank you.
But Rachel got me started with kind of expanding my horizons like 5 years ago. Like, I'm like, do those things really exist? And she's like, yeah.
Unicorns.
So that was how I really started allowing my expansion, and it just has grown ever since then. So I'm always super thankful for you for allowing me to have that expansion. Like, you hit in this space and you're like, okay, well, I see these things, but but now I don't question anything, and weird shit happens all the time. So
right.
but
I think my friendship with you is like so fun because we learn all these things together too. Like have been seeing this thing. What do you think about this? Like this whole layers thing. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks everybody. All right. Well, comment below if you have questions for us. We'd love to answer them, or find us on our websites. So thank you all so much.
Bye.